So I accidentally gave you a sneak peek of this earlier. This is one of the private buys I've just picked up. It's a Kia Rio 2 on a 2011. Time to get cracking on a little Rio. Get this paintwork done. So we've got the corner of the bumper here to do. And then it's only a small one, but I will do that at the same time. So first thing, sand it back, smooth it all out, ready for filler primer. So plastic fillers on in the areas needed to build up a little bit. It's important to use plastic filler because it's flexible and means that it'll flex with the plastic. So important to use plastic filler for this. So we'll wait for that to go off, and then we're going to go over with 240, then 400, then probably a 600, and then 1000 grit around the outside. Again, I'm going to try and stay away from here. I'm going to use that as a blending area and try and not actually get the colour that far, so that I haven't got a panel to panel issue. And over here, again, just a little bit of filler on there just to smooth it out a bit. Remember, less is more. You don't want to spend ages having to sand it off again, so don't layer it on super thick, because whatever you put on, you've got to get off again and get level. So let's wait. While that's going off, I'll mask off the spotlights and mask off around the grille. And my blend areas are probably going to be here, because it's choose the narrowest point. So there and there is the narrowest points for blends. And then the bonnet could do with might even benefit from a wet sand, but definitely a buff. My Kia Rio prep has been halted because a lady's out having a little test drive, and she's just gone round in the Hyundai i20, and she saw the Kia Rio, and I've just let her go down in the industrial estate on it. With its tape on the front of it to see what she thinks of that, so she can pair the two back to back and then make a decision from there. So I'll update you on how we get on with that. Any old school boys spot the Dacia in the background, the Demon Dacia? The gentleman reversed into something and damaged his bumper, so he's had a new bumper put on by Stuart. But yes, actually, to be fair, the car's been running perfect and he absolutely loves it, and it runs like a dream since we did that engine work on it. So she dropped the Rio back and she's out in the i20 again because she can't quite decide at the moment. I just noticed a little bit of a squeal from the engine bay, but it sounds like something auxiliary. I think maybe a water pump or air conditioning pulley or something like that. Nothing big, nothing that sweats me with these Kias, to be honest. But I think she's probably going to go for the i20, but we'll see. Well, she threw me a bit of a curveball there, guys. She hasn't gone for either because she wants to go and check out. Now, firstly, before I say anything, bear in mind this car is 2795 and that's 3295. She's going to go and compare them against the £6,000 2013 30,000 mile Ford Focus 1.6 Z-Tech. So she basically is going to go and compare my two £3,000 cars compared to a £5,500 car with half the mileage. And I said to her, obviously very politely, that obviously you are in a completely different price bracket there, a completely different quality of cars. If that's what you've got to spend, then you're going to find nice cars at that money. Obviously my cars are nice. And she's going to look at one, and on top of that, it's a private seller as well. So bless her cotton socks. But let's crack on and get the painting done on it. No point worrying about it. At the end of the day, this is part and parcel of the game. Don't sell cars if you can't deal with people being slightly strange in their decision-making processes. So sand it all down, 120, 240, then 400, then 600. And all the areas that have gone through to the plastic bumper underneath had plastic primer on. And you can see here where the filler is. So where it had that hit there, it bulged it out a bit, so it all needs to be levelled off there. And they pushed that in a little bit there, so it needs to be levelled off there. So all of that is all being prepped. So next coat will be the filler primer. Now I've also keyed up all the area all the way out to where I want to go with the lacquer. So there'll be the filler primer probably to about here, there'll be colour to about here, and then there'll be lacquer, and then there'll be fade out thinner there. Remember, as I always say, leave yourself loads of room. You always need more room than you think you need. and just take your time. The paint bit is the quick bit. It doesn't take long to put the paint on at all. It's the prep that takes the time. So take your time, make sure you're happy with it before going ahead. So yeah, we'll give it another 5 minutes for the plastic primer to go off, then we'll get the filler primer on. And the filler primer is the thick primer that levels the surface off nicely. Now for DIY jobs at home, this is the one I highly recommend. No sponsorship of course, they don't know I exist, but it's called Pro XL Ultra Build, and this stuff is by far and away the best filler primer I've found in a can. If you get it for your gun, it goes on really thick and it's easy, you can cover a multitude of sins, but from a can it's hard to get a very thick filler primer, but this one is brilliant, highly recommended. Ultra HB primer, Ultra Build, that's the stuff I'm using all the time now. So again, as always, I'm always happy to shout out something that I think actually does a really good job. So get yourself some of this, get yourself some plastic primer if you're doing bumpers as well. So plastic primer, then this stuff, and then your final coats. I've got my can of 1K colour and 2K lacquer. If you're struggling to find somewhere to get it, give the boys at Marlowe's Paint Supply. So that's Marlowe's, M-A-R-L-O-W-S Paint Supply. I'm sure the boys will send some out to you in the post because I don't think it's 2K, so I think they're allowed to send it out in the post. Yeah, if you're struggling to find it, go to the Marlowe's boys. And they can also do all your colour match paints as well and give you advice on how to paint. They're local lads, again, really good. But yeah, this is the stuff to go for. So a light coat first. I'm using a bit of this to block out sort of overspray blowing onto my blend area, but what I will do to be sure is when this is dried off is I will re-key this area here to make sure any overspray of the grey isn't on that paint, because that's going to be lacquer there and we don't want any grey overspray stuff underneath. So we'll give it another bit of a sand back there. You can sand the filler primer before putting your top coats on, or if you do it within 10 minutes or so, you'll be safe for the two to bond to each other. Ideally, for a bang on finish, you want to sand your primer first, but for me, obviously speed is an issue. I need to get these cars ready quickly and I have to bear in mind the value of the cars and so forth, how much time I spend on them. So I tend to put the colour on, and again what I'll do is I'll dust coat it on first within 10 minutes so it can really grab before I put the heavier coats on. If you put the heavy coats on, it's got nothing to, you want a dust coat on there first, which means just lightly waving it over so you've got sort of a slightly textured surface for your following coats to take to. Most people's problems with paint lie with trying to put it on too thick, too quickly, and they normally put it on too thick, too quickly because they're trying to cover up something below, like sanding marks or something like that. You need to stop at that point and get your filler primer out and refill and do that again. It's a frustrating process because sometimes you have to go backwards before you can go forwards, and you have to, in a time crunch, you're trying to get on with it, but you'll never get a decent finish if you don't go back and correct errors before you carry on. You can't just lag more paint on. So now we've gone with a heavier coat. After doing that first sort of dusty coat, we've done a heavier coat on it. To be honest, I think I'm probably going to leave it there. I don't think it needs much more than that. So we'll wait for that to harden off and then do a bit of a sand back. Right, so we've got a first light coat on. Sorry, we did one first key coat, then we put a light coat on, so then next coat's going to be a heavier coat. Again, trying to avoid going up here. I don't want to go and blend to the wing because I'm not sure how accurate the colour is these guys are giving me. So, and with the best will in the world, they'll never match paint spin on a car for a donkey's age. So wait 10 minutes, we'll put another heavier coat on, see where we are, and then the final coat will be a light dusting to make sure the metallic stands up. And we won't want to do too crazy. It's not hugely metallic, this car, but normally if you have a metallic, you want to do a light spray on the last one to let the metallic flakes stick up, so they reflect on the light more. But this isn't massively reflective and metallic on this, so we don't want to do too much of that. Story behind this is for another video. We'll cover that in a bit. Adrian's just dropped it off for me. But the i20 is just sold, so I was being a little unfair on that lady who said she was going to go and see that that £6,000 or £5,000 Focus, whatever it was. She's messaged me and said, I've been thinking about the i20. It's actually just what I need. We've done a deal on it at £3,250. She wanted it for a little bit less, but she thought she'd had a squeak on the brakes. I said, look, I'm going to check that out. I'm going to go through the brakes. If I end up having to put discs and pads on it, it's the £3,250. If I don't, I'll give you the extra 50 quid back that we agreed. So I don't see any fairer than that. So yeah, nice quick turnaround on that one. And I'm obviously, like I say, still on with the paint on this one, so we're just going to get another coat on that, get the lacquer on. I want to get it done tonight because tomorrow's Saturday and I'm actually going to take the day off tomorrow. I've been invited to rugby. Someone's hosting, someone I'm good friends with is from marketing agencies hosting the local game, so I'm going to go along to that, and I'm just probably going to get blotto, to be honest, guys. I haven't done that for a long time. I haven't had a day off, so I'm just going to go and drink lots of beer, shout lots, and then come in on Monday. All on my own again. Last coat's on. We're looking for an even finish now, so we're looking for no blotchiness in the metallics. We're looking for a nice even finish. If you're getting some blotchiness, come away from the paint a little bit and dust it over a bit more, and so you get more of an even sort of finish on it. Don't wait in one area too long. So we look for an even dusting. Towards the edges, we're sort of just flicking out like that towards the edges a little bit. Not too much, because obviously my blend area is over here. But flicking out a little bit there and a little bit there, so there's no obvious blend into the old paint. So 10 minutes and then we're going on with the lacquer. Now, as I said to you before, I don't thin my lacquer. A lot of people thin it as in warm it up. I don't warm it up because I want to lay it on pretty thick when I get to my sort of last coats, and if it's too thin it's easier for it to run, so I tend to leave it thick, and then I've got more time to be able to go slowly across the panel and really build the lacquer up. I want to get my fade out thinners as well. So remember, fade out thinners is basically, as far as I'm aware, it's basically thinners in a can, and what it does is it sort of melts your old lacquer into your new lacquer. So if we put it in about here and we use the fade out thinner, we should sort of be able to melt the paints together a little bit. Otherwise, if you give a hard line for your lacquer when you sand it, you'll get quite a strong blend line. So I'll show you the fade out thinner a little bit later. On the edges where that fade out thinner is going to be, you see the tape is rolled back on itself. It's not a hard line. I've folded the tape back on itself and rolled it back a bit. You don't want a hard line there, so make sure you do that where you're going to use your fade out thinner. So here's the fade out thinner. Can't say this make is better than any other make, because this is the one I've only ever used. Again, I get it from the Marlowe's paint supply guys. I don't know if they post this out, but you can give them a call and find out. But yeah, fade out thinner, and to me it just seems almost like thinners in a can. I've never asked them exactly what it is, but you have to be very careful. You have to just do a very light dust over a couple of times. Don't stay in one spot for long with it, because it will make your paint run really badly. I'll try and show a little bit later. I put a dust coat of the lacquer on. I might have made a mistake because I did use an old can. I was surprised, being 2K, that it was still able to be sprayed 2 days later. So I don't know whether that'll come back to bite me or not. I'm moving to the new can now. Initially it's looking a little darker, but luckily, like I say, I haven't gone out to the edges, so if the corners of the bumpers are a little bit darker, then it won't be the end of the world, and there shouldn't be any discernible actual line between the two paints. But I can't really tell, because obviously up here at the moment it's keyed up, so when the lacquer goes on it may well just be as dark as the rest of it. So that's it, guys. I'm done. It's leave it alone time. The finish looks good. It looks like I'm going to get away with can finish. Not gun finish, but can finish. Looks like I'm not going to have to wet sand this. Looking at it, we've got a really good shine on it. I'm not going to get too close. You saw over here was where my blend line... Sorry, I had to delete. I was running out of space. Over here is where my blend line is. You can see at the moment it's still clearing from the lacquer. It's still clearing up. So we'll buff that later, but it looks like it's clearing and blending into each other. This will need a buff, because obviously I can get a gun finish over it where I'm doing it heavy, but here I'm doing it lighter and then blending it, so that will need sanding. The other side, you saw me do the fade out thinner. I was a bit brave. I should have really just fade out thinner down here. I don't know why I did it all the way along here. Made more work for myself. But I was a bit brave. I put on more than probably you should. If you're starting out, I'd suggest just doing a couple of quick passes. You saw me do 3 or 4. I would probably only do 1 or 2. And again, on this side, I think we're going to get away with a pretty much can finish on there. How the colour matches, difficult to tell. I'm not brave enough to open anything up now. But if we look at the back of the car, oh, the light's not good, but it's actually darker blue than I thought it was. So we'll see. I think it might be a little bit darker, but we'll see. But again, I didn't go up into the wing there, so we should be fairly okay with that. But leave it alone time. I'm not going to get to see it till Monday now, because I said I'm going to take Saturday and Sunday off this week. Hope you all have a great weekend, and you'll have had this will probably be coming out on Monday, so hope you had a great weekend, and we'll see on Monday morning how this looks after I've buffed it and against the other paint. Thanks as always for watching, guys. Really do appreciate it. Catch you all soon.
Just about to head out for my day for the rugby, and the lady I said I thought I was being a little bit unfair on yesterday has actually proved to be a little bit potentially a time waster, because she messaged me and wanted to negotiate on the price of the car, and I did her a deal on it, and negotiated back and forth. She agreed the price, so I sent her a message and said, well, if you give me your name, your address, your email address, I'll send you over an email for £100 holding deposit, so we know the car's sold, and then I'll get it all prepped for you, and it'll be ready for pickup on Tuesday when you can pay the balance. And she read the message, and I had no reply. And this was last night, and so now it's Saturday, and as I said, I'm going to be off to the rugby for the day today, and so I just thought I'd throw her a message today, because Stuart's in the unit and the car's all there, and if anybody rocks up and wants to buy something, he needs to know what's available for sale. So I said, are you have it? Can I just confirm you're having the car? She said, I've got a few. So she read that. I got a message about, I've got a few more to look at this weekend, so I'm going to let you know on Monday if I'm going to have it or not. I'm thinking, who even negotiates on a car that they're not sure they even want? I guess that's the public for you. That's why I'm probably the easiest person in the world to sell to. So many years in sales. It's if I want something, I want it, I buy it. I don't muck people about. But anyway, so yeah, unfortunately, I'm not going off to the rugby today, having sold the i20 that quickly. We'll have to see if anything happens while I'm out for the day or not. But yeah, I've got up at 3295. I've got a gut feeling 2995 is where this car needs to be to sell quickly. But a lot of you keep saying to me, James, keep your price up a bit higher. So I'll stick with it. So anyway, this is now the end of this video. I'll catch you all again soon, probably with a massive hangover.